Silo Season 3, Episode 5 just did something no other episode in this entire series has dared to do. And once you see what really happened behind that fire, you will understand why fans can't stop talking about it. For weeks, Silo Season 3 had been teasing something enormous, and Episode 5, titled Memory, finally cracked it wide open. This wasn't just another chapter in the story. This was the episode where the show stopped hiding its secrets and started handing them over, one after another, in a way that left almost every viewer stunned by the end. If you've been watching this season and wondering how Juliet actually survived that fire, how Bernard is somehow still breathing, or why Robert Sims has been acting so strangely, this is the episode where the Silo finally speaks. The episode picks up right where the previous one left off, in the aftermath of the fire that nearly destroyed everyone we care about. Juliet and Bernard are barely alive, badly burned, and the people around them are scrambling to keep them that way. What makes this opening so powerful is not just the chaos of the moment, but the way the show chooses to show it to us. Instead of racing through the scene the way you'd expect from a rescue sequence, the episode slows everything down and strips the color away, forcing you to sit inside the panic rather than just watch it happen. It's a quiet, almost eerie contrast to how frantic everything actually is, and that contrast is exactly what makes it land so hard emotionally. As the injured bodies are moved through the silo, something remarkable happens. The people living on every level begin to notice. Word spreads floor by floor, and by the time Juliet is being lowered down through the levels, the entire silo has gathered to watch. They start singing. For a show that has spent 2.5 seasons building a world of fear, obedience, and silence, this moment hits differently. It's the first time we see the population of the silo unite around something other than dread. And the reason becomes clear almost instantly. Juliet went outside. She cleaned, and by every rule this silo has ever followed, that should have killed her. Instead, she came back. To the people below, she isn't just a survivor anymore. She's proof that everything they were told might be a lie. That single realization is the emotional engine of the entire episode, and it's what makes the next twist land so hard. Back in the present timeline, Bernard is the one telling this story, recounting what happened as if it's ancient history rather than a matter of weeks. And here's where the episode pulls its first real gut punch. Everyone in the silo, including people close to Juliet, has been led to believe that Bernard died from his injuries. He didn't. He's been alive this entire time, hidden away, and the person responsible for keeping that secret is someone nobody would have expected to be protecting him at all. Robert Sims has spent almost this entire season looking like exactly what fans assumed he was, a cold, obedient enforcer with no loyalty beyond the chain of command. This episode flips that completely. We learn that Sims was the one who orchestrated Bernard's disappearance, keeping him hidden from Camille and from the very council he reports to. When he suddenly appears in the present timeline to confirm this to Juliet directly, it's not just a twist for the sake of a twist. It reframes almost everything we thought we understood about his character up to this point. To understand why Sims made this choice, the episode rewinds even further into his own memory, and this is where things get personal. We see the exact moment his relationship with the silo's power structure fractured. Sims was told to leave the vault, the most secretive and protected room in the entire facility, while his wife Camille was allowed to stay. The algorithm, the mysterious system that quietly governs every major decision inside the silo, chose her over him. For a man who has given his entire adult life to serving this system without question, being shut out like that wasn't just a professional insult. It was the moment his loyalty started to crack. When Camille finally leaves the vault herself, she can't even tell her own husband what she was told inside. She's cold, distant, and unwilling to explain herself, only insisting that Juliet, Bernard, and Lucas Kyle now represent a threat that needs to be eliminated. She wants Sims to deal with it, and by deal with it, she means kill them. But instead of following that order the way he's followed every order before it, something in Sims finally breaks. For the first time, he starts working against the very system he spent his life protecting, and he does it quietly, behind his own wife's back. This is the moment the episode has been building toward all season without most viewers even realizing it. Robert Sims isn't the villain the show spent 2.5 seasons convincing us he was. He's a man who followed the rules until the rules cost him everything that actually mattered, and now he's choosing a side for the very first time in his life. While the fallout from the fire and Sims's secret loyalty dominate the emotional core of this episode, Memory also spends real time on a storyline that's been quietly simmering in the background for weeks, and it finally starts boiling over here. Orla Kent's death has been treated as an accident since it happened, chalked up to fumigation exposure in the mines. But this episode confirms what sharp-eyed viewers have suspected for a while now. Orla wasn't killed by fumes. She was murdered. And that single detail changes the entire investigation Paul Billings has been running. Billings has spent this season caught in an impossible position, forced to enforce a set of rules he's increasingly uncomfortable with, all while trying to figure out who actually killed Orla. When Carla finally agrees to meet with him in this episode, she doesn't take the news well, and it's not because she feels responsible for pulling the trigger herself. It's because she was the one who assigned Orla the task that likely got her killed in the first place. That guilt pushes her to open up in a way she hasn't before, and she brings Billings somewhere most residents of the silo will never see in their lifetime: critical supply. Critical supply is where everything from the before times, the era before the silo was ever sealed, has been stored since the very beginning. It's full of materials and equipment that simply cannot be manufactured underground, the kind of resources that keep the entire facility functioning generation after generation. And because it's so essential, the secrecy surrounding it is intense. Every single item that leaves that room requires 3 separate layers of approval, along with the direct presence of either the head of supply or their designated second in command. Even the empty boxes are kept on record, specifically so nobody can quietly figure out what's actually been used and what hasn't. This is where the episode reveals something that reframes the entire theft storyline that's been building all season. Someone has been stealing from critical supply, carefully and deliberately, and whoever it is understands the system well enough to cover their tracks almost perfectly. For Billings, this isn't just another problem to solve. It's a direct threat to the survival of the silo itself, because critical supply isn't just storage. It's the reason people underground have been able to survive this long at all. The deeper he digs into both Orla's murder and the missing supplies, the more he starts to realize these two mysteries might not be separate at all. What makes this section of the episode so effective is how it uses Billings as a mirror for what's happening to Sims on the other side of the story. Both men have spent their entire adult lives enforcing rules they were told existed for the greater good. Both are now staring directly at evidence that the system they've protected might be rotten at its core. Billings isn't ready to admit that out loud yet, but the cracks are visible, and this episode plants the seeds for exactly how far he's willing to go once he finally accepts what he's uncovering. Meanwhile, tension inside the silo's inner circle continues to tighten. Camille remains completely unaware that her own husband has quietly turned against the very orders she's been giving him. She still believes Sims is loyal, still believes he's working to eliminate the threats she identified, and that gap between what she thinks is happening and what's actually happening is one of the most quietly suspenseful threads in the entire episode. Sims is now playing a dangerous game, protecting Bernard, protecting Juliet, and keeping his own wife in the dark, all while maintaining the appearance of total obedience. One wrong move and everything he's built could collapse instantly. Elsewhere in the silo, the people working to protect Juliet and Bernard's secret are forced to expand their circle. Martha has to bring Knox and Shirley into the loop, specifically to help relocate Bernard's body in case Camille decides to follow Juliet down into the Digger Void herself. Every person added to this secret is another risk, another person who could accidentally expose everything Sims has worked to hide. The episode does an excellent job of making you feel that pressure build in real time, because at any moment, one slip could unravel the entire operation. Then the episode shifts, briefly but purposefully, to the before-time storyline with Daniel and Helen. Compared to earlier episodes this season, their screen time here is noticeably limited, and that's intentional. Rather than jumping back and forth in steady increments the way the show usually does, Memory saves this thread for the very end, almost as an afterthought designed to hit as hard as possible in a short amount of time. Daniel and Helen have already been threatened into silence by a mysterious operative connected to a shadowy Pentagon contact, and this episode picks up that thread with real consequences. As they're driving, something takes control of their vehicle. Not a mechanical failure. Not an accident. A deliberate, remote override of the car itself, seizing control of the steering as if some outside force wanted them exactly where they are right now. It's a small moment in terms of screen time, but it's massive in terms of implication. It confirms that whatever organization has been watching Daniel and Helen isn't just threatening them from a distance anymore. They have the technology and the reach to physically control their movements, in real time, without either of them being able to do anything about it. The episode ends on that unresolved tension, deliberately withholding the answer, and it's one of the clearest signs yet that the Before Time storyline is about to accelerate rapidly in the episodes still to come. By the time the credits roll on Memory, it's easy to see why this episode has become one of the most talked about hours in the entire run of Silo. It isn't just that so much happens. It's that everything happening actually matters. Every scene in this episode either answers a question fans have been asking since the season premiere or plants a new one that's going to define what comes next. That kind of density is rare, and it's the reason critics and viewers alike have been ranking this as one of the strongest episodes the show has ever produced. What makes Memory work as well as it does isn't just the reveals themselves. It's the way the episode chooses to deliver them. Instead of scattering the before times, the present timeline, and the flashbacks evenly across the hour the way earlier episodes have done, this episode makes a clear decision to stay grounded almost entirely inside Silo 18. That choice gives every storyline room to actually breathe. Robert Sims gets the space he needs to become a fully realized character instead of a background threat. Paul Billings gets time to sit with the weight of what he's uncovering. And the emotional aftermath of the fire gets to unfold naturally instead of being rushed past to make room for other timelines. The result is an episode that feels enormous in scope, even though almost all of it takes place within the walls of a single silo. The transformation of Robert Sims deserves special attention here, because it's rare for a show to take a character who has spent an entire season looking like a clear antagonist and turn him into one of its most sympathetic figures in a single episode. What sells it isn't just the plot twist that he's been protecting Bernard. It's the emotional groundwork underneath it. Watching him get pushed out of the vault while his wife was allowed to stay reframes every cold, distant moment we've seen from him all season. He wasn't emotionless. He was a man who had given everything to a system that never gave anything back, and this episode finally lets that pain surface. By the time he's quietly working against his own wife's orders to protect people he has no obligation to protect, it's clear his loyalty has shifted for good, and there's no going back from that. The Orla Kent investigation adds another layer of weight to everything happening inside the silo. What looked like a simple accident just a few episodes ago is now confirmed as a murder, tied directly into a much larger conspiracy involving stolen supplies from one of the most heavily guarded rooms in the entire facility. Paul Billings walking through critical supply and beginning to understand just how carefully someone has been covering their tracks isn't just a side plot. It's a warning sign that the threats facing this silo aren't only coming from inside the council chambers. They're coming from somewhere much closer to home, and whoever is responsible clearly understands the system well enough to exploit it without getting caught. Then there's the moment that closes out the episode entirely, and it's the kind of ending that instantly changes how you think about everything you just watched. Juliet finally makes her way down into the Digger Void, the same hidden space Sims has been using to keep Bernard's survival a secret, and in the final seconds, she finds him there. Alive. It's a reveal the audience already knows is coming after Bernard's earlier narration, but experiencing it through Juliet's eyes, in real time, hits with a completely different kind of impact. For her, this isn't backstory. This is the exact moment her entire understanding of who she can trust gets rewritten. That's really what Memory is about at its core. Trust. Who deserves it, who's earned it, and who's been quietly working against everything you believed about them the whole time. Robert Sims spent 2.5 seasons looking like the enemy, and this episode proved that appearances inside this silo mean almost nothing. Everyone down here is playing a role, following orders, protecting secrets, and the line between ally and threat is thinner than anyone in Silo 18 wants to admit. What makes this episode land so hard isn't shock value. It's that every single reveal feels earned. The show didn't just spring these twists on us for the sake of surprise. It spent an entire season laying the groundwork, letting small, seemingly minor moments build quietly in the background until this episode finally let them all crash together at once. That's the difference between a twist that feels cheap and a twist that actually reshapes how you see everything that came before it, and Memory firmly lands on the right side of that line. With Bernard now confirmed alive and Juliet standing face to face with him, and with Sims fully committed to working against his own wife, the back half of this season has an enormous amount to live up to. The stakes have shifted permanently. Camille remains dangerously unaware of what's happening right under her nose. Billings is inching closer to a conspiracy that goes far deeper than one murder, and the Before Time storyline just proved it has teeth of its own with that chilling car takeover. Every thread left standing at the end of this episode feels like it's about to collide with the others, and there's no telling which alliance is going to survive that collision. If this episode left you as stunned as it left us, That's exactly the reaction it was built to create, and it's proof that Silo is only getting started with the biggest reveals this season has to offer. Make sure to like this video if you're just as hooked on this show as we are, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the breakdown of what happens next, and drop a comment letting us know what you think Sims's next move is going to be, because this story is far from over.